Welcome to the guitar tutorial for Not the One. In this video series, I take you through the entire song and give you some insight into the tone, technique and production that may have been used so that you can better understand not just how to play the song, but how the song may have been crafted and how you could recreate it yourself. At the end of this video, there will be a backing track for you to practice along with. Now, this track was an early release on Unlimited Love, and I think it was pretty unexpected for a lot of people. But I have to say that it's really grown on me over time, and now that I've recreated the track, I understand some of the clever songwriting techniques that were used, and I've got a better idea of why the band themselves might like this. I think too, once you've learnt the song, you'll have a better appreciation for the track and you'll probably like it more. Now, one disclaimer, this song has a piano part throughout the entire song. I personally didn't feel it really added much, and I suspect because the song was written on piano, that maybe that's why it survived all the way until the final version. I decided to play this part on acoustic guitar instead. So I will demonstrate how to play the part that I created on acoustic guitar, but because that doesn't exist in the actual song, I'm going to focus pretty much mostly on the electric parts. So in my opinion, it doesn't matter too much what guitar you use for this song. Because we're utilizing volume swells, the difference in tone isn't going to change all that much. I use the Telecaster for the rhythm parts, and for the lead parts I use this guitar, which is a Fender Duosonic. Today I'm going to demonstrate everything on the Duosonic just so I don't have to change guitars 1,000 times. As a music producer, I love this guitar. On the neck pickup, it kind of sounds like a Strat. And on the bridge pickup, you can choose to have either a single coil, or it has a two-way switch where you can change it to a humbucker. Now you'll notice that this song has multiple rhythm guitars playing the chords. There's one in the left ear and one in the right ear. And because we have multiple layers of guitars happening at the same time, I chose to record everything through a single SM57 dynamic microphone through my Vox AC30 amplifier. Now for the Vox, I wanted a clean tone but with a little bit of gain behind it, and an easy way to achieve this is to dial up the top boost gain until the tone starts to break up a little bit, and then just dial it back about 10%. I use the same settings for both the Telecaster and the Duosonic, and that's because the Duosonic pickups are a lot sharper and a lot hotter than the Telecaster, and so they really cut through the mix without really needing to change anything. If you're just using one guitar for this song and you're recording yourself, it might be a good idea to use the neck pickup for the rhythm parts and the bridge pickup for the lead parts. Now, one key technique that we need to learn in order to play this song is how to do a volume swell. So the basic idea behind a volume swell is that you play the chord with the volume off, and then you turn the volume on. And it's really that simple. Doing this takes away the attack of the strings and gives you a more bowed violin type sound. And now there's no correct way to do this. The technique that I used on this song is just to use the volume pot after you strum the chord. You can roll it off with your pinky finger. But there's multiple other ways to do this. You can use a volume pedal. You could automate it in your software. Sometimes some guitars have what's called like a speed knob, where the distance to turn from 0 to 100 is about halved. And that means you can more efficiently do the volume swells. You might find it takes a little while to get a consistent sound from rolling the volume on, but you'll find that pretty quickly you'll get the hang of it. And once you start adding compression and reverb and delays, a lot of the inconsistencies start to get ironed out. So once again, I could not find a reliable guitar tab for this song. I'm going to do my best to put the chords on the screen for you, and for some parts I will try and create some tab myself so that you can play along to it. So let's get started on the introduction and the first verse. So our song begins in the key of D major. In the beginning, we're just playing a G major chord followed by D major. And the lead guitar on top is just playing a melody that only consists of notes of either the G major chord or the D major chord. So we have G, and then D, bending up to B, and then G and F sharp, back to D, back to B. So there's no tension there at all. It's just a really nice, peaceful melody to start the song. From here, the chords do change a bit. We have a section that moves from G major to A major, F sharp minor, G major, and then B minor, A major, back to D major. So the chorus begins with a bit of a key change. The first chord is A minor, followed by C major, and then D add 9. So D add 9 is just a D major chord with an E on the top. And we're playing all of these chords here up around the 12th fret. So these chords give us what is basically an A Dorian scale. And an A Dorian scale is basically like the G major scale, so except we're starting on the second note of the scale, the A. So, and this is very similar to an A minor scale, so that's another way to think about it is, but instead of this minor sixth, we're playing a major sixth, which is an F sharp. And that F sharp allows us to accommodate our D major chord. And this means we're not moving too far away from the key of the verse. But pretty quickly, we do move into A minor. So the next chord is an F major. And this puts us firmly in A minor. After the F major, we have this descending chromatic line. So the next one is a C major, but with an E flat on the bottom. And then an A major with a C sharp on the bottom, followed by C major. So this chromatic line, that's basically an F harmonic minor scale. Before finally we go back into our B minor chord. And this puts us back at home into D major in our original key. So all of this transition from A Dorian to A minor to F harmonic minor back to D major is just a really clever way of modulating from the beginning of our chorus back to our verse, and it adds a lot of really cool tension. You don't really need to understand the keys that it's modulating through. It's more of just a chromatic line descending down and returning us to our home key. But it is a really clever and cool songwriting technique that they've used in this song. Apparently that part, that section wasn't meant to be a chorus to begin with, and when it became a chorus, John added that part, the modulation, to make it more interesting, and it certainly does a great job of making it more interesting. So the second verse and the second chorus are basically identical to the first. The only difference being we are adding an E minor chord at the end of the verse, and that's a really nice moment in the song. The only other thing that's different is really happening in the bass. There's a lot more chromatic notes happening in the bass line. And we can get away with this now because the chorus has set a precedent for a bit of that chromatic feeling into the song. So Flea plays a lot more chromatic bass lines as the song develops, but the guitar basically stays the same for these sections. So then we get to the solo, and the solo we're basically playing the same chords as the verse. The only reason it feels a little different is because the bass is switching things up a little bit. So over our G major chord, the bass is playing an E and a G, and that gives us like a G6 chord. That's my favorite part of the song, personally. Now the solo, we're basically just soloing over D major. Now it might take you a little bit of time to get used to playing single notes with the volume swell, but pretty quickly you'll get the hang of it. So we have one more chorus after the solo, and it's exactly the same as the others. So then in the outro, to finish off the song, we're just going back to alternating between that G major, D major chord progression. The only difference now is that John is no longer just sticking to notes that are from the chords. We're starting to add a little bit of tension by adding notes outside the chords, and this is just helping to give that feeling of resolution at the end of the song. So for example, over the G major chord, John plays an E, and then an F sharp, back to D. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you find this song a little more interesting than perhaps your first impression of it. And that's pretty much it. I will see you next week for a new cover. Until then, there's a backing track after this to help you practice and play along. And that's it. I'll see you next week. Bye.